Well, good day, dear people. Here we are on day 54 of the Bible in the year 2021. Felicitations to all of you because we are starting in on Numbers today. Can you believe that? Some of you who did not think that you would be able to get through some of this, you've made it through Genesis and Job and Exodus and Leviticus, and now you're hitting Numbers. Yeah, take a bow. That's really fantastic. Glad that you guys have made it through this far. We're going to get started in on Numbers, and I apologize if my throat sounds a little weird. Having a young baby in the house. Yeah, so we're not getting as much sleep as we should, and finding it's affecting me, but it's okay. The Lord sustains us in all things. So here we are in Numbers, and just looking at the first verse there, just to understand the timeline that we're dealing with. The Lord spoke to Moses in the Sinai desert in the meeting tent on the first day of the second month. The first day of the second month in the second year after they left the land of Egypt. So the tabernacle, or the tent of meeting, the sanctuary, they completed that the month before. Okay, they finished that on the first day of the first month of the second year. So we are on the first day of the second month now in the second year. So it's a month after everything has been set up. So that's all been arranged, all the furniture, all the responsibilities, all that has been given out. Now it's time to get everything else organized. So that's what we're dealing with here, is that we are dealing with now getting the nation organized now that we have the worship organized. So a census is about to be taking place, and the Lord is going to establish with them that they are not allowed to take a census. But this is what we read. Okay, not at this time. Okay, He's commanded them to take the census, but we have to understand that a census is only permitted when Yahweh says so. They can't do it themselves. So take a census of the entire Israelite community by their clans and their households, recording the name of every male 20 years old and above who is eligible for military service in Israel. These you and Aaron will enlist in their military units. So they're having an enlistment now. Um, the census will be frowned upon in the future for one very simple reason. Yahweh does not want any of the kings relying on anything but him. He does not want them to realize the strength of what's available to them according to who's eligible to be in the army. He doesn't want them to do that. There's going to be the full time, and then there are going to be the reservists. The reservists are those who can fight, but it's not their primary purpose, but they can be called up in case of a war. And then you have your full time guys. Those are the guys that are stationed in different places and are always available to be called upon. And Yahweh says, no, this is not your strength. I am your strength. So that's why he will be putting into place that they're not allowed to take a census. Um, so here we have really it's the creation of the first organized Israeli army. I know they had already been in battle. There's uh, Joshua led them when Moses was up on the hill. You remember that, and so they've already had experience. But this is going to be these guys who understand when the horn is blown, you grab your sword, you grab your shield, you grab your spear, and you get into military formation, wait orders. So that this is what's being established here. So in verses 17 to 19 of the first chapter of Numbers, I'm really sorry for my throat. Moses and Aaron took these men who were selected by name and they assembled the entire community on the first day of the second month. Okay, now here we are, first day, second month. So Moses and Aaron acted immediately upon what the Lord had said right away. They called them. They registered them by their clans and their households, recording the name of each male 20 years old and above. Moses enlisted them in the Sinai desert just as the Lord commanded him. They didn't beat around the bush. Yahweh says, do this. They did it right away. They got everybody registered. But look at their numbers. So all those enlisted were 603,550. That's not too bad. An army over 600,000. Now, I know that there are some of our American friends that are listening in and people from different countries, but my orientation is Canada, so I'm just gonna put this in perspective from Canadian numbers. So they're currently 67,000 enlisted Canadians in the full-time Royal Canadian Armed Forces. That's full-time. There are 36,000 reservists. These are active reservists. Okay, I was a reservist when I was younger. I had to go through all the basic training. I had to learn survival, yeah, survival skills. We trained in the winter. I had to be on the firing range. We did long marches. We did all the basic training. We had to be out on maneuvers. I'm glad to say that I led a group that actually captured the machine gun on the hill, and yeah, I had some very funny stories about my training days. But anyway, so we have the reservists, but there's only 36,000. So like we have just over 100,000 trained um, soldiers. They could be airmen. That's Navy personnel. That's all of our armed forces together. Um, some of our American friends may be listening to this and laughing. Yeah, we have a population of 38 million. Israel probably close to 2 million, thereabouts, maybe over 2 million now at this time. And yeah, they managed to put together over 600,000. But in saying that, with a much smaller population, I didn't check this out, and I'm not even sure which war this figure comes from. But during one of the world wars, Canada had over 600,000 Canadians enlisted, and you know were shipped overseas and so on. It devastated our workforce. And that's just like in many countries. That's where the women who didn't work at that time, in a lot of cases, stepped up and went to work, not just in the factories, but in a lot of areas that their husbands and fathers had left vacant while they went to fight the war. So, um, so you can imagine the portion. If there's just over 2 million of them, you know, you're looking at over a quarter of the population is enlisted as an army, just to get some perspective there. And understand in Israel now, uh, the women and men fight shoulders to shoulder, and it's required. It's required that you go for training, so that you're always available to be called upon. You may not be in the armed forces full time, but every young person gets trained so that if there is a conflict, they have a lot of people they can draw upon. So in this census though, and understand this is where the Levites are really established here. Um, they're not allowed to be counted. So in verses 49 and 50, we read, "You must not enlist the tribe of Levi, nor should you take their census along with the Israelites. Rather, assign the Levites to the covenant dwelling, to all its equipment, and to everything that belongs to it. They will carry the dwelling and all its equipment, perform its religious ceremonies, and camp around the dwelling." So here's how we have this loophole. There will never be a time when all Israelis will be counted. because the Levites, it was forbidden for the Levites to be counted. And we haven't seen it yet, but the Lord has taken the Levites in lieu of all the firstborn. All the firstborn belong to Him, but He takes the Levites to redeem. It's a way of redeeming, so that the firstborn can return back to their families and tribes and such, and the Levites take their place. And the Levites now their whole responsibility is looking after everything that the Lord has called holy, everything that has been established, taking part, helping the priests who are Aaron's descendants, still part of the Levites, but set aside Aaron's descendants. Uh, and so the Levites have been assigned to them to assist them and help them with the religious ceremonies and all that sort of stuff. And for those of you who have already read through this, you'll know that at the time when they were returning from their exile, part of the problem was they couldn't find enough Levites. They couldn't find enough Levites to help with everything that needed to be done, and and uh, and the governor had to go before the Lord and ask for special permission in order to get everybody ready and in position to be able to fulfill everything that needed to be done. Very serious. David found out that only the Levites were allowed to take care of the Ark of the Covenant, the chest of the covenant, and he found out the hard way. So like this is very serious stuff. This right now established for all of the time of Israel, the Levites are assigned to this. This is their responsibility. And just note that their place was to camp around the dwelling, okay, the meeting tent. So now it's not very long today at all. We're going to go over to Numbers chapter 2, verse 2. And here we have the whole arranging of how the camp is going to be set up. Okay, it all has to be organized. Remember, they came out of Egypt in a military formation. They stress that they came out of Egypt in military formation. They are moving around the desert in military formation, and it's just being established now how the camp is being set up, how this nation will travel as nomads. They can't do just whatever they feel like doing. They belong to Yahweh, and they will follow His instructions, and He will keep them organized. He will keep them safe. He will keep them provided for. He will take care of all of this. So they need to follow this. So we read the Israelites will camp each under the banner with the symbol of their household. They will camp around the meeting tent some distance from it. So this is all being arranged, and you read through that chapter when we told you where each tribe is positioned around the meeting tent. This is all arranged for easy travel and deployment. So see, they're camped around the symbol of the presence. That's the meeting tent, and within the meeting tent, the Ark of the Covenant, where if they want to meet with the Lord sits, on top of that Ark of the Covenant. That's His place. It's a symbol of His presence, which is housed in the meeting tent. So that's a symbol of His presence, and so it's arranged so that everybody can look towards that meeting tent. Everybody, no tribe is blocking any other tribe. They all have clear sight of the meeting tent. And some people would say, well, they were arranged to protect it. No, Yahweh protects His own. They were not arranged. He doesn't need an army protecting Him. He was there to protect them. And again, I just remind you of the trouble that David got into because he didn't follow instructions, and a man died thinking he had to help protect the ark, and he died because Yahweh does not need anybody. Nobody was allowed to touch it. If you remember, the law is they cannot touch the holy things, especially the Holy of Holies, which is the Ark of the Covenant. And they were supposed to know this, and ignorance is no excuse. He gave them all the instructions. So they're camped around the symbol of the presence. It's kept in the center, and the Levites are camped around that. So they act like a buffer between the tent of meetings and the rest of Israel. So you have this ring of the Levites, and the Levites are actually there as a buffer, so that when Israel did wrong, and they would do wrong, uh, the judgment wasn't immediate. It just wasn't like boom, there was a reaching out. The Levites were there as a buffer, so that Yahweh wouldn't kill everybody on day one. Because you remember his holiness, his glory naturally cannot have anything to do with the fall, anything to do with death, anything to do with even fermentation, which symbolizes death. It can't have anything to do um, um, with the rebellion and all that sort of stuff. So they were camped around, and it's so that Israel would not be destroyed. And but there were times that plagues were released, and there was immediate judgment that came upon them. But you just have to keep that all in perspective. Okay, so don't look at that and say, well, yeah, Yahweh brings immediate judgment, because Jesus told us, as he brought in this time of grace. He removed all the sin. He removed the condemnation of sin. Um, and it's been established that there is one day for judgment, one day, which is to give everybody an opportunity to turn away from that rebellion, give everybody an opportunity to come into the kingdom, to turn away from those things. And so just remember, as we're reading through all of this, it's important for us to discover the roots. It's important for us to discover who Yahweh is as he's revealing himself in all of these things. And we can see that, things being organized, things being clean, things being presentable. It's important. And even though, there's no immediate judgment and stuff for us, not to understand all these things. We're supposed to grow in understanding. We're supposed to grow in this understanding. And yeah, Jesus did it all. And we're not earning anything. We're not earning our salvation when we learn to live according to the desire of our Father. But because we love Him, it's because we love Him that we want to grow into that. We want to grow into that desire to please Him. That becomes what we want to do, and not please Him in a way that we earn anything from Him, but please Him only because we love Him. We look and we see that He is wise, and there's purpose for everything. And if He says that we need to do this, then we need to do this, even if we don't understand it, because He has shown us again and again and again that He does this stuff for our benefit. It's for our benefit, and so we trust Him in it. Yeah, so yeah, I'm not going to go too far into that because that's a few weeks worth of teaching there. So thank you very much, you guys, for being with me today. Thank you for continuing on this. I am so proud of you guys. We're going into the numbers, and that's really fantastic. And I pray that you will sense the presence of the Lord as He dwells in you, as He dwells in you. That's just an amazing thing. So be blessed and make yourself available to Him today.